This is the newsroom for today, Friday, June 18, 2021. We are broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarzi TV in Vartika. In the headlines, the joint services is further strengthened following extensive training by the U.S. Southern Command.
First of all, it deepens the relationships and the partnerships between the U.S. and Guyana, but also the other nations that took part in it.
A woman who had just landed in Guyana for her mother's funeral dies in a horrific accident on the Linden-Soestdijk Highway. E-Networks offers incentives for Guyanese to get vaccinated against COVID-19, flood-affected miners to get much-needed relief supplies by Monday, and in sport, be an inspiration, the sport minister tells Olympic-bound Guyanese athletes as government makes initial contribution and Guyana makes official bid to host matches in Under-19 Cricket World Cup. With the news, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We started by telling you that the ongoing exercise, Tradewinds 2021, a United States Southern Command-sponsored multinational Caribbean security exercise, has been allowing the local joint services and other partner countries to strengthen their military and emergency capacities. This is according to some of the trainers and participants of this multinational exercise that has been taking place locally since Sunday. Vishani Raghubir has our story.
Exercise Tradewinds got underway on June 13. Through this exercise, a number of training exercises were conducted on the ground, air, sea, and cyberspheres. There are 17 partner nations from the Caribbean, Europe, South, and North America. During a visit to some of the training sites on Friday, including Camp Stevenson at Timeri, East Bank Demerara, participating officers and trainers shared what the experience has been like thus far.
One of our primary missions here is to provide medical casualty evacuation in the event that whether a U.S. soldier or a host nation soldier or any of the coalition partners get injured, we have the ability to fly them in our helicopters very quickly to medical treatment so that further injury doesn't occur. In addition to that, we're here to provide training for the host nation and other nations in working with U.S. coalition forces. That way, if the need arises and that becomes a big issue, they already know how we operate, we know how they operate, and it works well as a partnership.
The more we share, the more we can learn. Talking with some of the U.S. forces out there, they're learning just as much from the Guyanese and the other partner nations here as much as we are doing with the training with them. So it's, even though we're providing training, they're actually learning from them as well.
Obviously, they're using different weapon systems. Every force that comes out here uses different weapon systems. The last 31st Special Forces group used AKs, and here they're using the M16s. They're aware of the fundamentals, and it's just us being able to identify anything that we can address at the moment to help them out, get a more tighter group. But they're well enough to use their weapon systems. They're shooting pretty accurate, and we're seeing that slight improvement as we're addressing and demonstrating different drills that we're doing, maybe drills that they haven't done before, and giving them the reason behind the drills. As an example, we did the failure drill. The failure drill consists of 2 rounds, and we're using the circle targets that you see out there, 2 rounds in the middle circle, and then 1 round in the upper circle. And the reason for that is a lot of times the threat may have body armor, so 2 rounds in the middle circle, and the threat is still there. So we have them shoot the 3rd round in the upper circle, making sure that they're not hitting body armor. So those are the type of drills we're running through with them, making sure they got that repetition going. But they're doing well, and we're definitely seeing a progression in the positive direction.
Basically, we're on the training, so as we teach, it will be very much beneficiary at the conclusion that as an instructor, I will be able to impart into my ranks and the ranks within the Guyanese schools. Presently, on this platoon here, we have approximately about 22 junior ranks and one officer.
That's part of the reason I joined the U.S. Army, because we have the capability to reach out and help and train, and that's something that we pride ourselves on doing, even as a Guyanese.
On Friday also, U.S. Ambassador to Guyana Sarah Ann Lynch visited some of the training sites and got to see firsthand what was being done. Following that visit, she commented that this training has permitted mutual learning.
First of all, it deepens the relationships and the partnerships between the U.S. and Guyana, but also the other nations that took part in this. This was very much of a multinational exercise. And so I think, again, deepening and strengthening those partnerships is really the best part of it. But beyond that, they share techniques, they share different ways of addressing similar issues. And so I think it's very much of a learning experience for everyone. I heard from the U.S. military yesterday that they were very interested to see the different techniques that the Guyanese had on the water in terms of boat formations. And so it's definitely sharing that information that is making this a wonderful exercise overall.
This military exercise will conclude on June 25, and it is expected that by then, a framework guiding how multinational operations can be conducted would be established. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Vashani Raghavir.
Now, a 56-year-old overseas-based Guyanese woman died in an accident Thursday night, moments after arriving in the country for her mother's funeral. Dead is June Ford. Her son, 37-year-old Michael Ford, had just picked her up at the Chedijagan International Airport, and they were making their way to 1 Mile Wisma Linden when the horrific accident occurred on the Haruni Public Road, Soosdijk-Linden Highway at around 17:30. Police headquarters revealed that Michael was driving in the opposite direction of a motor lorry, which was being driven by 25-year-old Kavel Karu north along the western side of the road. It is alleged that while in the process of passing each other, Michael ended up in the western drive lane and collided with the front left side of the truck. Both vehicles suffered extensive damage, and June was taken out of the vehicle in an unconscious condition, while Michael was conscious. They were both placed into a passing vehicle and taken to the Diamond Diagnostic Center, where June was pronounced dead, while her son received a penetrated injury to his right eye. He was transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. Now, the ruling in the case that has challenged the 2020 promotion of police ranks by the Police Service Commission, that's the PSC, has been further delayed to Monday, June 28, 2021. Although the ruling was expected on Friday, with the Chief Justice acting, Roxanne George, repeatedly noting the need for a speedy conclusion, that was not achieved. When the matter was called on Friday, the Chief Justice had to first spend time entertaining discussions on new notices of application filed by attorney Pratesh Satram, who is representing the Senior Superintendent Calvin Brutus in his complaints of discrimination. Satram explained that those applications were to introduce additional evidence which he became aware of sometime after May 31, 2021. After hearing extensively from Satram, Justice George said that she did not think the information contained in the notices of application were necessary for the determination of the matter, and so she set them aside. Satram, on behalf of Brutus, maintained that the Commission's blanket policy not to promote ranks who have disciplinary matters pending was unfair and irrational. He said this is so especially when the Commission is responsible for the delay in determining those matters. Represented by attorney Dexter Todd, the respondents have claimed that Brutus's complaint was premature since they were never informed of being considered for promotions, much less being promoted. In December 2020, Brutus moved to the High Court to block the promotions of senior officers, complaining that the PSC was acting unlawfully and irrationally. Brutus complained of being jilted and protested that the PSC is using a trivial pending matter of breach of discipline to deny him promotion to Assistant Commissioner. In his application to the High Court, Brutus asked for a declaration that it is unlawful for the PSC not to promote to consider for promotion ranks with pending disciplinary matters, a declaration that he is entitled to be promoted to the office of Assistant Commissioner of Police, and an order cancelling the decision of the PSC denying his appointment to the office of the Assistant Commissioner of Police. Additionally, Brutus asked the court to cancel the decision of the PSC to promote Edmund Cooper, Philip Azor, and Curley Simon, Senior Superintendents of Police, to the office of Assistant Commissioner of Police, and to compel the PSC to reconsider its decision not to promote him to Assistant Commissioner of Police. Brutus contended that some of the ranks up for promotion also have disciplinary matters dated back as far as 2016. His matter dates back to 2019, but he claims no progress has been made on conducting and concluding an investigation. E-Networks Inc., Guyana's only local telecommunications provider, today announced that it is offering an incentive to encourage more Guyanese to take the COVID-19 vaccine and reward those who have already been immunized. Effective immediately, new customers who show a valid COVID-19 vaccination card will get $2,000 off 4G home internet sign-ups. This discount is valid at all eNetworks locations until June 30, 2021. eNetworks hopes that other companies will add vaccine-related promotions to encourage more persons to protect themselves and others by getting vaccinated so that Guyana can start getting past COVID-19. The Ministry of Health reports that 46% of people nationally have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine, including 19% of all people are fully vaccinated. Now, police have arrested one of two men who allegedly brutally raped a pregnant 17-year-old girl in Region 7, Cuyuni Mazaruni, and recorded the entire ordeal. Police headquarters in a brief report noted that the alleged rape occurred between April 1 and April 30, 2021. The victim revealed that the men forced her into a car and took her to a house that belongs to one of them. There, they took turns raping her while they each filmed the attack. The victim further alleged that at the time of the rape, she was pregnant, and as a result of the attack, she suffered a miscarriage. One suspect has been arrested and placed into custody, while a search for the other is underway as investigations continue. Flooding continues across the country, and the CDC says affected miners to get much-needed relief supplies by Monday. This is the Newsroom. As the Civil Defense Commission continues its relief efforts nationwide, flood-affected miners in Region 7, Cuyuni Mazaruni, and Region 8, Potaro Siparuni, will be receiving supplies shortly. This is according to the Director General of the CDC, Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig.
We have thus far, with support from GGMC, particularly and some of the affiliated bodies, identify the communities or the areas that are impacted, the number of miners directly impacted. We've already sourced and commenced packing of the hampers. We've already made provision for an acquired vessel to start transporting, and I think as early as Monday, the first shipment of supplies will be dispatched and distributed to those miners that are affected. We're targeting the lower, middle Mazaruni and upper Mazaruni area, and also those miners in Region 8.
Meanwhile, floodwaters in communities in the middle Mazaruni area, Region 7, Cuyuni Mazaruni, have receded after the residents grappled with intense flooding over the past few weeks. However, the regional chairman, Kenneth Williams, who visited these communities over the past few days, said that many of the residents remain concerned about their livelihoods. Vishani Raghuber reports.
During a telephone interview with the Newsroom on Friday, Regional Chairman of Region 7 Cuyuni Mazaruni, Kenneth Williams, related that a team of regional officials and members of HIAS, an international non-governmental organization that works with migrants, visited several of the Middle Mazaruni communities earlier this week. Though there has been a reduction of the water in the area, he said that residents are unable to return to their economic activities.
The issue that keeps coming back and back again is the issue of not compensation, but how do these people restart? How do people get back to normalcy? And that has been the bugbear, that has been the struggle. That many of them are at their wits' end and how to restart. They've seen the water level drop, and many of them that I've interacted with, they're concerned about waterborne diseases. They're concerned about what could happen to them if they get back into that area without adequate protection.
Though residents were given some food and cleaning supplies, the regional chairman related that they would be in need of other supplies to help them restart their work.
But in relation to restarting, many of them would need startup costs. Many of them would need, I don't want to say seeds or the stocks for the cassava sticks to restart, because farms have been totally decimated. In Kangaroo, particularly, 54 farms are totally decimated. And so they need startup fishing lines, they need long boots, they need things that would help them to access the areas and try to replant. And that has to happen after the sun comes out and dries up the land, obviously. But for now, they will need to that gathering these things and that re-engaging their mind, how could they get back to the farmland, how could they get back to the shops, restock, replant, and start all over again.
The Civil Defense Commission, CDC, has listed Region 7 as one of the 5 regions experiencing a Level 3 disaster. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Vishani Raghavir.
And the flood situation in Region 10, Upper Demerara Berbice, has not improved despite water recedings in other parts of the country. The regional chairman, Darren Adams, on Friday revealed that floodwaters have risen in several areas of the region. Added to the region's flood woes was the collapse of a tailing pond at the East Montgomery mines. As a result, close to 100 residents of Three Friends Mines and Maria Henrietta are affected. Shakima Day reports.
During a telephone interview with the newsroom on Friday, Region 10 Regional Chairman Darren Adams explained that the tailing pond at the East Montgomery mine collapsed at around 9:30 p.m. on Thursday. He said that the present situation is a dire one, with at least one resident at risk of losing her home.
The Maria Henrietta and Three Friends Mines, I think close to 100 persons are currently affected. Several homes are now experiencing flooding. I think at least I would have reported at least one house is completely, may likely, if action is not taken, based on where it's located, is being directly impacted and could possibly, you could see it being washed away if action is not taken.
Tailing ponds are where waste materials from the mines are pumped into a pond to allow sedimentation of solids from the water. The pond is generally impounded with a dam and known as tailing impoundments or tailing dams. Mr. Adams said that the damaged tailing pond is controlled by Bauxite Mineral Group Guyana and that an investigation is underway to determine what caused the breach. Meanwhile, providing an update on the seasonal flooding, Adams told the newsroom that the floodwaters in Kokwani still remain at their highest of over 10 feet, covering roads and some houses. Currently, the shelters at the Kokwani primary and secondary schools house a total of 42 residents. He explained, too, that at Haruru Points A and B, the water level rose a considerable amount, forcing authorities to consider tent shelters to accommodate affected residents there. Residents are also flooded in central Kumaka.
At Laddersville, the water is rising again there. It had risen an average of 4 inches. There are 37 persons there. Let me just back up at Forestry Compound in Hororo, there are 40 persons there, and at the primary and nursery school, there are 47 persons there. At the Araima Primary School, there are 37 persons there. The community experienced rainfall within the past 48 hours, and so the water level would have risen. At Rockstone, while the water level would have dropped 8-12 inches in my last report, I believe because of persistent rain over the past 48 hours, I think the water would likely have risen again.
Thus far, the region has received support from the Civil Defense Commission to help mitigate the flooding situation. Added support is also provided by the Region 10 Disaster and Preparedness and Relief Committee. For the newsroom, I am Shakima Day.
Still ahead on the newsroom, scrap metal exporters complain about a new operating system established by Kano. Stay tuned. This is the newsroom. 2 months after the scrap metal trade was given the green light following a 6-month ban, exporters from the Guyana Metal Recyclers Association have expressed concern with the new turn system. They claim this system was introduced by the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, KANU, and mandates that they only operate twice per month. The exporters told a news conference on Friday that it is impossible for them to work with this system in place. Shakima Day reports.
Treasurer of the Guyana Metal Recyclers Association and the scrap metal exporter herself, Shalini Das, said the association was not informed of the new system, mandating them to operate twice per month when the scrap metal trade reopened after the 6-month hiatus. A ban was implemented in September last year by the government as they embarked on an assessment of the trade. It was only after exporters went to the loading dock with their filled containers that the new system was introduced. Since then, the exportation of scrap metal has slowed as exporters are unable to cope with this new requirement. At a news conference on Friday, Das explained that new standard operating procedures were provided by the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit. However, this new turn system was not on the list.
So we were given some recommendations There were supposed to be 23 exporters, but 12 has complied so far with all the requirements that they ask. However, when we reached that point of loathing, we had some real shocking discoveries that we consider impossible, because it's not possible to get any of what they're asking us to do done.
Another exporter, Alicia Mohammed, stated that the new turn system is unfair for Guyanese scrap metal exporters, as foreign companies are given more lax provisions than locals.
This is instructions. We were told that it was coming from the head of the CANU organization. What they were asking us to do is to load on a torrent system. Bear in mind, we are loading scrap metal. Bear in mind, scrap metal is a multi-million-dollar investment. They're asking us to load on a torrent system, meaning you're only allowed to operate your business twice per month. You have staff to facilitate, you have your overhead expense to facilitate, you have the rental of your yard to facilitate, and it's impossible for us to operate a business on a torrent system. Foreign companies are being allowed to come in this country and work freely. Why Guyanese? The president has emphasized a lot on growing small business, and this is the private sector, growing small business in the private sector area. And why are we not given a fair chance to operate our business on a daily basis? Meaning, have adequate offices available for us to load our containers every scrapyard. Every scrapyard must be allowed to work on a daily basis.
According to Mohammed, Guyanese scrap metal exporters are feeling the squeeze as buyers are hesitant to conduct business with them due to the new requirement. While they understood the reason behind the more stringent requirements to curb illicit activities, the exporters are of the view that the new system should be reviewed to allow a smooth flow of the scrap metal trade. As such, they are calling on the relevant authorities to intervene so that there is consensus and a quick resolution. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Shikima Day.
Now, the police are conducting investigations into the circumstances surrounding the death of 45-year-old Yesu Persaud of number 57 Village Quarantine Babis, who was found hanging from the door of a cell in the lockups of the number 51 police station on Thursday afternoon. Investigations revealed that at around 9:45, a woman who shares a common law relationship with Persaud reported to the police that they had an argument on Wednesday during which he threatened to kill her, burn her employer's house, and kill himself. As a result, Persaud was arrested by the police and he was placed in the passageway between the cells of the lockups, clothed in his boxer shorts. Persaud was later found on his knees hanging from the cell door with the elastic waistband from the boxer shorts around his neck and tied to the door of a cell. The body is at the Anthony Funeral Home in Quarantine, awaiting an autopsy. When the newsroom returns, the financial, weather and bridge reports along with sport. Welcome back to Newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We start things off with some Olympic news. The Minister of Sport, Charles Ramsden Jr., on Friday afternoon made an initial contribution on behalf of the government of Guyana to assist athletes who would be representing the nation at the upcoming Tokyo Olympic Games in July-August. 4 of the young Guyanese, boxer Kevin Alicock, table tennis player Chelsea Edgell, 400-meter runner Alia Abrams, and Paralympic athlete Walter Grant Stewart were on hand to receive and hear of the administration's support.
These athletes that are representing us, these are Guyana's children, and that we have to be proud of Guyana's children. The ministry is embarking on a particular program that is about taking our sport to the highest level, and that's why we've been very deliberate about the actions that we've taken, the programs that we've taken, the projects that we've undertaken as well. And today is really to give the support to these athletes and the ones that are not here today but that are going to the Olympics to represent all of us. They're not representing the government of Guyana, they're not representing themselves alone, or they're not representing their families alone. They're representing all Guyanese. When they fly that flag, all of us, we feel proud. So I didn't want them to leave without knowing that, first of all, Guyana stands by them, that the government is going to stand by them as well, that this is the beginning and it's not the end. This is only the beginning. We also have a small appreciation of the beginning of our support because we're proud of them and we want them to have that kind of encouragement while they're there so that they can perform at the highest. Currently, their airfares and accommodations are both taken care of. So we are currently giving them each $1,000 to take with them when they go on their trip for their own leisure and to assist with their time while they're there.
Be an inspiration for future generations. That's the word of encouragement from the Minister of Sport, Charles Ramson Jr., to Guyanese athletes who have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games. So far, boxer Kevin Allicock, table tennis player Chelsea Edgell, 400-meter runner Alia Abrams, and swimmers Andrew Fowler and Jamila Sanmugan have qualified for Tokyo, while cyclist Walter Grant Stewart is heading to the Paralympic Games.
When teams leave, when players leave, I keep reminding them that they have an additional obligation, and that is to inspire a generation of people coming behind them. You heard me say that to the basketball team when they were leaving. And I'm going to emphasize that to every single team that they're leaving. It was a lot of times when people see examples, they emulate those examples. Just last night when I was speaking to St. John, he said to me, the one thing that encouraged him is seeing an example that left Brooklyn. That was, who was Jay-Z. So there are many people who use examples that they see and they try to emulate them as they continue to chart their career, the younger part, the nurturing part of their career. They use them for inspiration. I know you guys are young. I know that this is your first time to the Olympics for almost all of you. It means that you're there. This is going to be an experience for you. You're going to be anxious. There's nervousness there. But also be mindful too that there's an entire nation that is looking at you, that you are inspiring a lot of people in the process, and they will look at you and say, I want to be like you. And the more that you can use that for your motivation to do well, we want medals, obviously. In fact, the government would treat the medals, the acquisition of medals, in a very different way. And we want to encourage you to get your medals, but you also need to understand that every single time and every single moment that you get there, there's a lot of people that are looking towards you and that you're inspiring them.
Now, the government of Guyana this week submitted its bid to Cricket West Indies to host matches in the ICC Youth World Cup to be hosted in the Caribbean in early 2022. In March, Cricket West Indies said it is undertaking a thorough regional bid process for Caribbean countries wanting to host matches in the 16-team tournament, which will take place over a one-month period. This is the first time the West Indies will host the event, and it is likely to be staged across 3 host countries and will include the game's future stars competing in 64 matches in the 50-over format. South Africa recovered from a shaky position to reach 218 for 5 by stumps on day 1 of the second and final Betway test against West Indies in St. Lucia on Friday. After 82 overs, South Africa were dictating a run of play, thanks largely to skipper Dean Elgar and the informed Quinton de Kock. Elgar made 77 in a partnership of 87 with Kyle Verren, who made 27. De Kock, who made a career-best 141 in the first test, was unbeaten on 59. South Africa had earlier been reduced to 37 for 3 in the first session, with West Indies holding the upper hand when lunch was taken at 44 for 3. After West Indies won the toss and elected to field, the recalled Shannon Gabriel made the breakthrough, removing opener Aidan Markram without scoring. Jaden Seals then nicked off Keegan Peterson for 7 for the second time in the series, and Kimar Roach dismissed Rassie van der Dussen for 4. After then, it was all South Africa as Elgar and de Kock led the recovery effort. Meanwhile, rain wiped out the entire first day of the Men's World Test Championship final between India and New Zealand in Southampton. Heavy rain fell throughout Friday, preventing a ball being bowled, and play was abundant in the afternoon session. The weather is forecast to improve over the weekend, with play set to begin on time on Saturday. A reserve 6th day is in place for the showpiece final to allow for play lost to bad weather to be made up. India and New Zealand are contesting the inaugural final, with the winner crowned the first Test World Champions in cricket's history. If the match is drawn, the sides will be declared joint winners. Now, in a shot in the arm for the BCCI and the IPL, the dates for the 2021 edition of the CPL have been revised. It will now be played in St. Kitts and Nevis between August 26 and September 15. The CPL was originally scheduled to start on August 28 and end on September 19, but that changed after the BCCI began talks with Cricket West Indies and the CPL immediately after it identified the September-October window for the wrapping up of the remainder of the postponed 2021 IPL. The revised dates will mean a tweaked match schedule for the CPL, and the challenge for both CWI and CPL is that there aren't much free days in a packed home season comprising tours of the Caribbean by South Africa, Australia and Pakistan. Immediately after the ongoing series against South Africa, which ends on July 9, West Indies will play a white ball series comprising 5 T20s and 3 ODIs against Australia, which will end on July 24. 3 days later, the Pakistan series kicks off with a 5-match T20 series, followed by 2 test matches scheduled to end on August 24. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. Do have a great weekend. See you back here on Monday.